So if you use promoted listings on eBay, you probably assume that you're only paying when they actually do their job and generate a sale for you. But that assumption's about to get tested because eBay's in the process of rolling out a change that flips the logic of how promoted listings are supposed to work. And depending on how much you sell, it could end up costing you more than you think. Hello and welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. We've got a lot to talk about today. I went to a couple of garage sales over the weekend, found some pretty good stuff, so I'm going to show you that. I'm going to run through my weekly sales and my top 10 sales, of course, but first we'll jump right back in and start talking about this promoted listings changes. Honestly, I'm a little behind the game on this. I know a lot of other YouTubers have been talking about this change over the last few weeks, but I still wanted to share my perspectives. First, let's start with how all of this promoted listings stuff works currently. So eBay has two different types of promoted listings, priority and general. And priority is kind of like Google Ads, where you pick keywords and get charged every time someone clicks, whether they buy it or not. And the general promoted listings are what most of us resellers use, where you set a percentage, say like 2 or 3%. And that controls both how often your item is shown as a promoted listing and how much you're charged later if it sells through a promoted listing. Now, the key difference between the two is pretty simple. With priority, you pay per click, and with general, you only pay if the item sells. And so what we're talking about today is general promoted listings, the kind where you're only supposed to pay when a sale actually happens. And how eBay decides whether or not you get charged a promoted listing fee or not is based on what's called an attribution model. And it sounds more complicated than it really is, but let me explain really quickly. So currently there are two main attribution models that eBay uses within its general promoted listings strategy. One's called direct attribution and the other is called halo attribution. And here's how both of those work. So with direct attribution, if a buyer clicks on one of your promoted listings and buys the item, you get charged the promotional fee, which makes total sense. And with halo attribution, it's a little bit different. So if a buyer clicks on one of your promoted listings but doesn't buy that item and then later buys a different item from your store, you still get charged the promotion fee. And so while this is a little bit less direct, it still mostly makes sense because a promotion led the buyer to your store. They eventually made a purchase, and so the ad basically did its job. And so again, that's how it works today with direct or halo attribution. But eBay is currently rolling out a third attribution model. They haven't named it yet, so I'll go ahead and give it a name right now. Let's call it the phantom attribution model. And so here's how this phantom attribution model works. So if a buyer clicks on one of your promoted listings and then literally anyone else in the entire world buys that same item within 30 days of that click, you get charged the promotional fee. It sounds crazy, but here's how eBay describes it in their own words. eBay will report an attributed sale from a general campaign when a buyer purchases the same item that was featured in the ad that was clicked on by any buyer in the most recent 30 days. In other words, somebody clicked on one of your promoted listings but didn't buy. Then someone else bought it later, and even if the second person never clicked on a promoted listing at all, you still get charged the ad fee. Now, let's pause for a second and talk about the word attribution. By definition, attribution means assigning a cause to an outcome. It's all about identifying what led to what. So when eBay says they're introducing a new attribution model, the implication there is that there's still a logical connection between the ad click and the sale. But in this case, there just isn't. The person who clicked on the ad didn't buy it. Somebody else did. There's no link between the ad click and the sale. So calling this attribution isn't just misleading, it breaks the definition entirely. It's like giving credit for an assist that never happened. Like, imagine you hire a recruiter to help you fill a position. Like, they send you a candidate, but you don't hire them. And then a month later, somebody else walks in the door, applies on their own, and gets the job. What if that recruiter sends you a bill expecting to be paid for the hire? Would that make sense? Well, eBay thinks so. Or let's say someone glances at a billboard for a mattress but doesn't buy it, and then weeks later somebody else on the other side of the world searches online and finds that same mattress and buys it. Using eBay's logic, the billboard would get credit for the sale. Now, to be fair, this model isn't live in the US yet, and for all I know, it may never be. But starting June 24th, 2025, it'll go into effect in the UK, Australia, France, Italy, and Spain. It's already live in Germany, where sellers aren't happy. According to a report from Value Added Resource, one seller in Germany saw their promoted listing attribution jump from 50% to over 80% of total sales overnight. Same traffic, same listings, but now 80% of sales were being attributed to ads because of this change. Now, let's put this into perspective. Last year, I had $59,588 in gross sales. 52% of those sales came through promoted listings. Now, I typically promote at 2 to 3%, which means I paid about $750 in ad fees for the year. Now, if I sold the exact same amount amount, but my sales from promotions suddenly jumped from 52% to 80%, my ad fees would go up to about $1,150 for the year. That's an extra cost of $400 or so, and it's a decent chunk of change, but honestly, it's not devastating. It's an increase of less than 1% of my total yearly sales volume. However, I wouldn't be getting anything new for that money, like no more views, no more sales, no improvement in ad performance, no additional value. Instead, I'd be paying more to get confusion? Because look, if you're gonna call something an ad platform, it has to behave like one. An ad platform is a system where sellers invest money to gain measurable outcomes, like more visibility or more clicks or more sales. But attribution is the bridge between cost and value. It's the mechanism that tells sellers, hey, this is what your ad did, this is what it generated, this is why the fee exists. And if you break that bridge, like the entire system just like loses meaning. And just to be clear here, not all advertising works the same way. There's also brand advertising like TV commercials where the goal is awareness, and that's hard to measure. There's also performance marketing where you only pay when the ad drives a particular result, like a click or like a sale, and promoted listings fall squarely into that second category. That's the whole deal here. We pay when they perform, not just when they run. What eBay is doing here, charging sellers when someone clicks on an ad but someone else makes the purchase, breaks the basic rule of performance-based advertising. You pay when the ad actually helps make the sale. If there's no clear link between what you paid for and what you got, then the whole system just falls apart. Now, maybe eBay is banking on the idea that most sellers won't notice or won't understand or won't care, but the ones who do, your most savvy sellers, the ones who actually track their numbers, they're going to see this right away. And they're going to pull back, not to protest necessarily, but just because it's bad business. Because the real risk here isn't the extra cost. It's that sellers lose the ability to measure what's working. No serious advertiser puts money into a black box. And if promoted listings turn into a black box like this, the most trusted sellers are just going to stop using the system. eBay might see a short-term bump in ad revenue, but the long-term cost is harder to see and far more damaging. Because once you take away the clear cause and effect between an ad and a sale, promoted listings stop working like ads and start looking like just another fee with a different name. But look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this new attribution model has some strategic rationale that I'm missing, and if so, I hope eBay will clearly communicate it to sellers. If it's rolled out more broadly, that clarity is going to be essential because when sellers don't understand what they're paying for, it doesn't just lead to confusion and frustration, it leads to disengagement. So eBay, if you're listening, let me ask you something directly. Would you spend your own marketing budget on a campaign where you still had to pay even if the ad didn't bring any additional value to your business? Of course not. No smart business would. So why ask your sellers to? Oh, whew. All right, you still with me? You still here? What's going on? All right, like I said, I did go to some garage sales this past weekend. It was a little bit rainy. It was really quiet. There was a lot of garage sales, but not a lot of people out, which was kind of strange. Anyway, check out the stuff that I picked up. All right, had a pretty good haul at garage sales today. Surprisingly, got a lot of good stuff, actually. So this Bun coffee maker, it's the VPR series. You can see I paid $10 for it. Comes with 2 carafes. It looks really clean. I haven't plugged it in and tested it yet, but assuming it works, it's going to go for between $150 and $200, I would say. And you might be a little bit scared of shipping something like this, but it's really just not too bad at all. Next up, this is crazy. Look at this, PS4 for $5. It was in this box with all these cables. I was buying the PS4 alone. I don't think the actual PS4 cable, power cable's in the box. I haven't looked closely, but she was like, yeah, you can just take the box along with the PS4 for $5. So even, even a non-working condition, if this thing just happens to not work, it's going to still be worth it at $5. But I'll buy a cable, I'll test it, and we'll see what happens. But couldn't believe seeing a PS4 for $5. And there's probably also some other valuable stuff in this box. I haven't really looked yet. I also got 2 of these TP-Link gigabit pass-through power line adapters, the AV1200. This is, I paid, what did I pay for these? Yeah, $3. And they should go for, I don't know, maybe around $30 to $40 for the pair. This is a fun one. You remember this from the 90s? This is a Hidden Valley Ranch shaker bottle here. Surprisingly, I have bought and sold these in the past, and they go for decent money. 50 cents I paid for it. It should go for probably $20 to $25, so I'm not going to be a millionaire from it, but just kind of funny to pick stuff like this up. Most people are just not going to know that it has any value at all, so it's kind of fun to find one like this. Also got some men's shoes here. These are Born, B-O-R-N. These are pretty good brand leather shoes, $5. My guess is these are probably worth $30 to $40. I don't know. I haven't comped it. So also just got I think it's like a little girl's Camelback Mini Mule. Paid, well, I think I paid $2 for this. It'll probably go for 20 bucks. Nothing crazy. Check this out. I was a big PC gamer in the 90s. Gosh, I had this exact CD back then, this Quake CD. I paid $5 for it, which is way too much. I shouldn't have bought it. And I am going to resell it, but it's probably only worth $10 to $15. So I'm not going to lose money, but I'm not going to make much money either. I just saw it and I had to get it. I had this exact PC game and played a lot of it in the 90s. Also got some Google Nest Wi-Fi modules here. $10 I paid for them. I think for the pair, they're two different models. This one has the speaker in it, but I think for the pair, I'll probably get 50 to 60 bucks. So not a ton, but the sell-through rate's great, so I'm not really worried about it. Also got a couple Margaritaville pieces from a garage sale. This one's a Jim Shore one. Again, I have no idea what the value is on this. We didn't look them up. They were just so cheap. This one was $1. When you see the comps pop up, you're going to be surprised like I am. Another Margaritaville. This one's a Department 56. Because I think we paid $2 for that one. And then this one we paid, I think it was also $2. I don't know. I don't see how much we paid for that one either. But again, oh yeah, $2 right down there. I'm not sure how much that's going to be, but we'll see. This was a good find right here. Moen's a good brand. This is a good example of letting somebody else do your research for you. Check this out. On the inside, she put $25 for her cost there at the garage sale and included the Amazon price that she bought it for, $453. So I saw that. I was like, well, it's got to be worth at least 25 bucks. My guess is on eBay, I'll get $200 to $300 for it. So this was a really good find at $25. You can see it's all there, never been used, never been opened. I think that's it. It's actually a pretty good haul for garage sales. All right, let's jump into my sales for the week. It looks like my gross sale amount for this week was $1,311 and a net sales amount of $838. Now, my goal for the week usually is right around $600 net. My goal is to get about $30,000 net over the course of the year, which is just under $600 a week. And again, I do this part-time, so these are my goals just for the year. So with $838 of net sales for the week, I'm pretty happy with that because it does go quite a bit over my goal. You'll see my average gross per sale here is $54.64, which is higher than normal. My average net per sale also accordingly is higher than normal at $33.51. Usually I sit around $21 or $22 as an average net per sale. My net profit margin is 64% on the week. Scrolling on down here, it looks like I spent $526 on new inventory over this past week. The cost of goods that sold was only $115. The marketplace fees were $178 and shipping labels came in at $181 for the week. Looks like I had 30 new listings. My goal is 35, so not quite on my goal, and 24 listings. You'll see I want to show you something again really interesting with some trends here. I'm going to scroll back up here. I did have 2 days where I had 0 sales. On the 4th, I had 0 sales at all. On the 6th, I had 0 sales. You know, I do occasionally get days where I don't sell anything. It's kind of rare that I get 2 days out of the week that I don't sell anything, and even more rare that I get 2 days out of the week I don't sell anything and still like exceed my goals here. So pretty interesting week, but I want to show you something and just how this correlates. Look at those 2 days on the 4th and the 6th. Just look at the differences between this chart that shows gross and net sales and my new listing chart down here. Look at that. I mean, there's 2 days out of the week that I also just didn't list anything new on the 4th and the 6th. Scroll up there. I mean, it's just these charts just look very similar. And so it's really hard to say that there's a direct correlation between listing and selling. Obviously, the more you list, the more you're going to sell. That's just math. Anyway, just very interesting to see how my charts, my new listing chart and my sales chart just match almost identically. And so again, it's really hard to say that there's a really strong direct correlation. Like if you don't list, you're not going to sell anything. But you just see these trends and it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder how that eBay algorithm is working and what's going on behind the scenes that we may not know about. So it's another reason that I advocate that you list on a daily basis if you can. It's less about trying to trick the algorithm. It's more about trying to build routines and habits into your system because, again, a lot of people just have problems listing. They have trouble listing. They don't like to list. They like to buy, but they don't like to list. And so you really need to focus on the parts that you don't like and build habits around them so that you can keep doing them. But just seeing these types of graphs where I have no listings on 2 days and those happen to be the 2 days I have no sales, again, could be a coincidence. Looks like my average time to list is 5 days. So that's the average time between the time I purchase something and it gets listed. You want that number to be as low as possible. Otherwise, it just means you're building a death pile. My average time to sell is 5 months. So that's the amount of time between a listing and an actual sale. So on average, the stuff that I sold was 5 months old. Return on investment for the week was 727%. Let's take a look at my top 10 sales for the week. Coming in at number 10 is this Disneyland Walt Disney World Donald Duck plush. This thing was from the 70s, I think. I've had this for a really long time. I purchased it on May 21st, 2021. So that is over 4 years old. Look at this. This is another great example of ending and relisting. This listing was ended on June 2nd, 2025, relisted the same day, and it sold 5 days later. And again, I didn't make a whole lot of money. This came in the big lot of a bunch of different plush, and I knew it had some value, so I figured why not list it? Well, it sat there for 4 years, basically, and then Flipwise automatically ended it and relisted it, and it sold in 5 days. And so just incredible to get a lot of this old inventory moving out of my store because of this auto relisting. It's just really... I'm just shocked at the inventory that's selling, so it's pretty fun. Coming in at number 9 is this little minifig. If y'all remember last week, I sold a lot of minifigs on auction, and I told you my strategy of how I kind of break up lots and think about how to strategize and maximize value out of a big bulk lot of things. And so in this case, it was minifigs, and what I did is I went through all the minifigs and I identified all of them. Any of them that were worth a certain amount got put in one pile, and all the rest that were under a certain amount got lotted into another pile. That low value lot I put together as an auction, and then I sold all the independent ones that were above a certain amount independently. Here's one of those. It sold for $25.98. Took 9 days to sell. My net return on this was $16.17. I just put $1 cost of goods into this one. But yeah, so that's kind of how you want to handle that stuff. Coming in at number 8, you just saw this on my garage sale video, this Camelback Mini Mule hydration pack. It did sell for $22.54 with free shipping. Just a really quick sale. That's why I picked it up. I knew it was going to sell quickly, even if it didn't make a ton of money. I knew it was going to be easy to ship. All I did was put it in a poly bag and it's good to go. And, it cost $7.57 to ship. A little bit, it ended up being a little bit heavier than I thought. It did weigh over a pound. But anyway, I made $8.80 in one day. And these little sales just like this add up. And they're not things that I, actively seek out. But if I see what is effectively an $8 bill sitting there at a garage sale that I know is going to sell very quickly, why not? I've got the operations to support that. This is why I talk about systems so much in my eBay reselling business and encouraging you to set up systems. You want to make it trivial to list and to ship and to store your inventory. That way you can just pick things up, even if you know they're not going to return a lot of money. Like the amount of time I invested in this piece right here is just so small. I was at a garage sale that I was already at. I added it to a pile of things that I was already buying. I spent $2 on it. I took it home in a bag with other stuff. I then listed it. It took less than 3 minutes to list. It's just very easy. You don't have anything to test. There was nothing to clean. Now, if this thing was super dirty, I would have passed on it. So it's just very quick to list. It sat in my storage, for less than a day to sell. And then when I need to ship it, it's like 3 or 4 minutes to actually ship the thing. And so my total investment of time ends up being like under 10 minutes for this entire transaction. And again, I only made $8.80, but just why not? When you have these systems set up, it makes it super easy to plug things into it and get cash to come out on the other end with a relatively small amount of effort. Coming in at number 7 is this T-Mobile wireless line link. This is an interesting one because during that garage sale video, you saw that PS4 and that giant box of wires. This was in the box of wires. And so the woman was like, just take it, please. She didn't want it. And so I bought the PS4 for $5. She threw in the box of all these cables and stuff. And I was like, well, maybe there's something valuable in there. Well, this was in there and it sold in one day for $36.98. So that alone, this extra bonus thing that was in this box of wires, paid, times 5 net return of my total investment on the PS4 itself. I kind of like buying stuff like that where you just don't exactly know what's in it because you end up finding stuff like this. And this was just a great sale, sold very quickly for $26.14 on the net return. So very, very good to see that in that box. And that was kind of a funny one. Coming to number 6, check out these Lisa Frank playing cards from the 90s. So you saw these from a garage sale that we picked up. I can't remember. What did we pay for it? Something really small. Yeah, 25 cents. So we paid 25 cents for these Lisa Frank playing cards from the 90s. I know that some of y'all say that you get Pharaoh takedowns for Lisa Frank. I've never gotten one. Maybe, I don't know when you do. Maybe it's like newer Lisa Frank stuff. This was definitely a vintage piece. We had no issues listing and selling it. It did take about a month to sell for $46.98. That's $39.99 plus $6.99 in shipping. The net return was $34.35. We paid $4.40 $4.14 to ship it. And these were going, these were not in perfect condition. First of all, the box had a little bit of water damage to it, which we disclosed. They come with stickers on the inside, and the stickers had been used. They had been put onto the playing cards themselves. If this was in much better condition, I saw comps in the $100 range, but even so, for 25 cents, selling for $46.98, I'm completely happy with a net return of $34.35, a ROI of 13,740%. So that's a big reason why my net profit margins are being bumped up here. My ROI for the week is being bumped up is because of sales like this, where my inventory costs are just so low. Coming in at number 5, this is a Panasonic Boombox, also a garage sale find. This took about 13 days to sell, it looks like, for $64.98. That's $49.99 plus $14.99 in shipping. When I was shipping this thing this morning, it's such a great feeling to find like the exact perfect box for an item. It's one of the downsides of being an everything seller is you can't really operationalize your shipping in a good way. You kind of have to have a lot of different box sizes on hand, and oftentimes you're just sort of scrambling to find the right box for a weirdly shaped item like this, but I found this box and it fits so perfectly and it just felt so nice. Anyway, what did I say? This sold for $64.98. I think I paid $5. Yeah, $5 at a garage sale back on April 12th. It took me about a month to list. I did have to test it, and this, these require testing. The radio worked great. I popped a tape in there. The tape worked great. Fast forward, rewind, play, all that stuff. You also want to test the antenna. Pull it all the way out, make sure it stays up. A lot of times the antenna is broken or it'll just fall over. This was in great condition. It came with the power cord. It was super clean. So I knew this would sell pretty quickly, and my net return was $40.07. Coming in at number 4 here, Oakley Sutro sunglasses. These are the most ridiculous looking sunglasses. I'm just old. There's no way I could pull something like this off, but they sold quickly, about 9 hours for $69.53. That's $62.54 plus $6.99 in shipping. The net return was $48.56. I had $6 into these from a bulk buy. Just the right time of year. People are looking for sunglasses. We're at the very beginning of summer. Also, this was an interesting one to comp out because these are a newer model sunglasses, so there was no used sunglasses on the market at all. Only new, both active and sold. And so I didn't have a whole lot of good comps to go on, but they were selling between $80 and $100 new. These did have a little bit of scratches on it, so I found a happy medium at $62.54 plus shipping. It's just one of those situations where I use the sort of precise pricing strategy where I wanted it to appear like I knew exactly what it was worth. And so I chose kind of this weird precise pricing just to sort of give that feeling of research behind it, because I was just unsure of what the value actually was. Now, did that contribute to the sale? I have no idea, but it makes me feel good. So coming in at number 3 here, is that right? Are we on number 3? I don't even know. Yeah. Coming in at number 3 here is this GoPro Hero8 action camera. This came from a bulk buy. I've got about $6 into it. It sold in 35 minutes. Wow. Did I underprice that? I don't think I did. I should check. $95.55. I went ahead and did free shipping, and it would be cheap to ship. $71.08 is the net return on this GoPro Hero8 action camera. Coming in at number 2 is that Sony PlayStation 4 that I picked up at the garage sale. It did work. In that box also was the power cable. It wasn't a special power cable. PS4s take sort of just a normal power connector. Either way, it had what I needed to be able to test it. Everything worked great. I popped a disc in there as well to make sure all that worked. And it's just crazy to see this thing for $5. I actually thought the value was going to be a little bit higher for a PS4. Turns out no, $100 basically plus shipping. My net return on this was $87.09. It took a day to sell, basically. The net profit margin was 79%, a 1,700% ROI. But that box just ended up being really good because not only did I get the PS4 for $5 plus the cable that was necessary to power it up, but also that little T-Mobile thing. So together, what was the T-Mobile net return on that? 20-something plus 80. It was a $100 box right there. So pretty cool to find that PS4 for $5. That's just how you know you're the first reseller to a garage sale, by the way. Any reseller would have seen that and picked it up, no question, because even for parts it would have sold for probably $40 or $50. Coming in at number 1 is this LK Easy H2O. I think you probably know what this thing is, even though you can't see it. It's one of those water bottle fillers that you see that kind of hang out above a what are those things called? Let me take a drink of water and see if that helps me remember. It does, a drinking fountain. It's one of those water bottle fillers that hangs out above a drinking fountain, and it kind of counts how many like bottles of water you've saved or dispensed or whatever. Anyway, I got this from that big bulk buy of fixtures that I have been selling over the course of the last few months here. This one took 2 months to sell. It's a high dollar item, $359 plus shipping. My cost to ship was $36.53. The net return on this guy was $238.93. Let's take a look at how this bulk buy is doing. Looks like I've got 100 active products actively listed. I've sold 75. I've got a gross income so far of what's sold of $5,700 and net income of $2,500. Looks like a list value of everything that's remaining is $7,633. And I've got maybe 5 or 10 things to list on it. And so they're mostly just fixtures that are not complete. And so I either need to donate them or pull out parts that I want to sell as parts. Haven't really figured out what I want to do with it yet. I might just end up donating. It's a lot of work to go through and identify the parts. And I don't know, maybe I'll do that. We'll see. I just have a lot of inventory right now, and so I would rather list the stuff that I know is going to be good and sell quickly rather than spend my time kind of auditing boxes of fixtures to maybe find things that are sellable. But I don't know, maybe I'll hold on to them, and maybe there will be some time when I have a lower amount of inventory and that's a more attractive proposition. But anyway, this bulk buy is doing very well, and very excited about it. Looks like I'm probably going to net at least another $3,000 to $4,000 from it based on my historical margins on this. And so that'll end up with a net income of probably $7,500 on this one. So it's a very good bulk buy, and you don't run across those very often. A lot of people ask, where do you get your bulk buys? Just talk to people. I got this bulk buy from a connection that I made probably 5 or 6 years ago. It didn't come from us, not because I have a YouTube channel or anything like that. The person that I buy these pallets from, I don't even think they know I have a YouTube channel. If they do, they've never mentioned it. I met them on Facebook because I was buying something from them, and I went to their house, and it was clear that they were a reseller. I told them I was a reseller too. They said, "Oh, well, you want to buy more stuff?" I was like, "Sure." And since then, they just continuously bring me, not continuously, maybe twice a year, they bring me a pallet like this, and always happy to buy it. I know I'm going to make money from them when they call me up. Is that it? Are we done here? I think we're done. All right, let's go ahead and turn the lights out so we can have a conversation. There was something I wanted to talk about. What was it? Now I can't think of it. Oh, at garage sales this past weekend, my kids were making fun of me about this because I bought some deodorant, and it was just, everyone has their own brand of deodorant that they use. I do the same. And when you see it at a garage sale for 50 cents, like, oh yeah, sweet, that stuff's expensive, I'm definitely gonna buy it. But my kids are making fun of me, like, you buy your deodorant at a garage sale. I've also bought toothpaste at thrift stores. I mean, it's just, you save a ton of money. Why not? There's nothing. It seems weird, but it's not weird. So do your thing. Buy your toiletries at discount prices when you can find them, because they're expensive. That stuff adds up. What else do we want to talk about today? But how about that promoted listing policy from eBay? I'm obviously very pro eBay. I think eBay is an incredible platform. I've made so much money from eBay. They're not a perfect company by any means. They get a lot of things wrong. This promoted listing attribution model is just unbelievable. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I kept double checking the details. I was like, is this right? This can't be right. Is this really right? They're really calling that an attribution model. Pretty crazy. Hopefully they listen. Hopefully people speak up, and if they do implement it, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop promoting your listings? It's really interesting. We'll see. Never a dull moment in the eBay world. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.